This is Enzo Eigen of the Alliance for Loki. Today I want to make a video on running Alliance Quest Map 7, Day 5. So this is the hardest level of Alliance Quest and the most challenging day. So you can see the team I'm using is Blade, Corvus Glaive, and Omega Red. I'm running full suicides, which is great because Corvus Glaive and Omega Red gain a lot of extra attack from suicides, and so they're really strong champions. Blade gives me some sustainability, and he's good, especially against one Mephisto fight where he has danger sense. So my first fight is against Vision, and so of course I want to use Corvus Glaive because Vision is both an Avenger and a tech champion, so that gave me 2 missions and really enhanced the power of Corvus. So this is a challenging fight. Vision usually isn't too bad, but the fact that he's stun immune makes it a little more difficult. And then he also has sort of this global node on this first section, which is called Transducer and Power Alternator. And so Transducer gives him more power when he's hit, and also when he's close to me, I would believe it takes some of my power. While Power Alternator means that if I have more power than he does when the timer, you can see the gray timer up there on Vision's side, runs out. If he has less power than me, we switch powers. So it's you have to be really careful about your power. You can see here I throw the SP1. I was always a little worried that if I have more power than him, he's going to take my power. Vision's always a little bit of a difficult fight because he synthesizes, and when he synthesizes, you can see right there, he gains a fair bit of power. I'd say 1.5 bars of power, maybe even a little more. And so you have to be careful that you don't allow him to get enough power and then synthesize, and he's at his SP3. And so I spent a lot of time in this fight baiting his SP1 just to make sure that he doesn't get much above 1 level of power. So again, there it is. I really was slow playing it there to allow him to get his SP1 and then synthesize to his SP2, and then I could fight him. So this is a fight where, as you see, I ran on my glaive charges, and again, just sort of slow playing it, trying to get rid of his SP1. Here I get tagged right on the ankle by his SP1, so I definitely take a lot of damage from that. And now, again, trying just to do my attacks, manage his power, and I've run out of glaive charges, so it's just basic attacks for the rest of the fight. But I end up taking him down, and 1 hit does do a lot of damage, so you really can't afford to take more than 1 or 2 hits. So 47 hits with Corvus Glaive, who's a powerful champion, just sort of showcases the level of these fights. So that fight, while always challenging, usually I can get through it okay. I mean, the 1 hit is not too uncommon. This next fight can be really difficult, and I've taken a lot of deaths to this fight. So Hyperion, again, has those 2 sort of, I'd say, mini global nodes, the Power Alternator, Transducer. Of course, he has his own power gain, and so he's always gaining a lot of power, and you just have to be really careful. So trying to bait his specials is the name of the game. And I try to be more conservative, like I try to bait his specials early on to try to have him throw it. He's good about throwing specials, but it doesn't take too long for him to get to an SP3, which would do a lot of damage and probably kill me. So I'm going to try to have him throw his specials and just sort of play around those. So I do have 2 glaive charges, which is great because you can see how much harder the Corvus is hitting now. And you can see right away, even I start after just a 5-hit combo, starting to bait his special just because, again, I want to have that thrown as quickly as possible. Here's a very good example. Again, I'm baiting his special very quickly. Luckily, Hyperion throws a lot, and you can see the damage I'm doing is incredible. So right here comes a very tense moment in the fight. So he's gaining power. I sort of do that parry, and then he's stalling. And I'm sure I was going to have to just rush in and try to kill him before he got his SP3, but luckily, right at the last moment, he threw it, and I was able to then counteract. And then luckily, I was able to kill him with a few more hits. So it's a very tense fight, and you really just have to be careful and be a little more conservative. But you can see how hard Corvus is hitting now. 24 hits and he's dead. Again, it's a very high level ranking champion, so these champions are around 30,000 PI. So my last fight, on sort of my first round of action, is against a Cable. The Cable fight is a huge difference compared to the previous 2 fights. It's relatively straightforward. There's not too much to worry about. Again, he does have Transducer, so you don't want to hold a special. Also allow him to get a lot of power. because if you do, you could have his power gain activated, and a few times I'm caught by his special 3. And at this level, these special 3s will either do a significant amount of damage or kill you. Mostly I try to bait his SP2 or get him to his SP2 because that's easier to dodge, while the SP1 you can sort of block the first half, but then you have to dodge the second half. And you see that I sort of don't go in for the attack. Again, I like to sometimes slow play these fights just a little bit, but I launch my SP1 and he's almost dead, and it doesn't take much more to kill him. And so luckily, I got my SP1 again because he was at that 1%, and I would have taken some more block damage if he had thrown a special. And so that's the end of my first round of fights. So you have enough energy to those 3 fights, and then my alliance mates come in and start their paths too. So I'm in Europe, so my time zone is much different than most of the other players in For Loki who are North Americans. And so they've given me a lane that, aside from this bishop, I don't have really any links to worry about. And then this event starts around 2100 for me, so I do these fights, wait for a little more energy, and then I'm done for the night. And they don't rely on me to do anything more than to get that Mephisto down. And after that, they can clear section 1 while I'm asleep, and then I wake up and start section 2 right as they're. So sorry for the change in the look in the video, but I had to take this for my live stream. So I streamed this fight live, but I forgot to record it. So that's why I have my label on the right side. This fight is usually okay. Sometimes I take a little bit of damage. Every now and then he kills me, but for the most part I can handle him. The hard thing about him is his enhanced incinerate, so that will proc a fair bit and it does a lot of damage. Luckily with Blade I get Danger Sense, that sort of offsets it a little bit. So my general strategy against Mephisto is to sort of really, again, slow play it. So I do a lot of sort of just parries so I get the bleed, and I'm using this to build up power and just to get him down a little bit. You can see this is not bad. I get him down like a good 10-15%, and I want to get to an SP1 before he has Transducer takes my power. Just allows me to get some good damage in, push him back off the screen some, and so that's sort of my general strategy with this. So this fight went incredibly well. I was very lucky. So he hasn't yet to proc his aura of Incinerate, and so that's good. I do get tagged by his SP1. I take a little bit of Incinerate damage. Not too bad, but again, at this level you can see the effect on my health. I mean, I'm down to about 50% health. Blade is okay in this team, but running suicides is not great for Blade. He does take a fair bit of damage, and even when I play this perfectly, I probably still lose like 20% just from the suicides and blocks and the recoil. So it's sort of not a very good champion for suicides, but again, I don't use him a whole lot, so it's worth it for me to bring him in just for that one fight. So this is actually now the next day, and so I've woken up after sleeping, and I'm on in the morning before I go to work, and I just cruise through the rest of section 1. My alliance mates have finished that section, and I go off to path 1, which is a bleed path, which is of course perfect for Corvus because I actually would help him heal. And so I have my first fight, which is against this Moon Knight, and sometimes I can get the evade charge for Corvus off this fight. It's pretty rare, to be honest, because his evade doesn't happen that much. Since I always fight him at the same time of the day, I really should look and see what phase of the moon he's in, but I have a feeling that whatever phase he's in is one of those times where he doesn't really use his evade too much, because I hardly ever see it. It would be great if he did, because then I would have my 4th charge, but I mean 3 charges is definitely plenty for Corvus Glaive, do incredible amounts of damage. And so I go into this fight with Corvus. I could use Omega Red here, but I sort of tried to save him for the last section. And so again, this fight's straightforward, just fighting away, seeing if he gets his evade. So he's at it's at like a crescent moon, I think. I'd have to look at his abilities to see, but I have a feeling that means that he doesn't evade too much. I generally don't like him throwing his SP1 just because as I play really conservative in this, I just don't even bother trying to dodge it, just take it as a blocked hit. While as SP2, you can always easily dodge it. But Glaive is just so powerful. Corvus Glaive is so powerful at this point, you can see, it just absolutely wrecks him. Again, the node doesn't really have any effect to bleed. In fact, it even helps me regenerate. So you can watch him, slowly they'll be regenerating. health throughout this entire section, this entire path. And so after this, my next path is Heimdall. Again, another character I could potentially get a mission off of with the auto block. I rarely see it, and these fights go by so quick with Corvus that I don't really want to spend too much time because then you'd get hit more. So it's not too worth it for me to try to manage getting the auto block. So again, I just go at him, always trying to parry him, get that armor break, does that little bit of extra damage. And again, Corvus is just so strong. You can see how he absolutely just goes through Heimdall, and just making absolute sure he never gets to an SP2, because then you have to block and you're going to take pretty big damage from that. So just fighting away, and very few hits again, and then he's down. So Corvus is just so powerful in this lane. Those 3 charges just make him an absolute monster. 21 hits. Again, this is against the hardest content in the game right now as far as Alliance Quest. So just as I finished my fight, I noticed that Cam is below me, fighting against the Iceman, who controls the link on the Yondu that I have to fight next. So it's very good timing. So again, our paths are really well constructed to everyone's sort of schedule. So again, those guys are always playing right when I am waking up, so it works out really well for us. So now the link is down, I have the Yondu to fight. Again, not a very difficult fight. The only piece in it is that he has unblockable for the first 6 seconds. And basically my goal is to hit into his block as much as I can. I could dance around it, but he could push me back to the corner, then I'd be in a lot of trouble. So, I go back, and then when I see him go for the block, I charge in. I'm actually lucky there to get the evade. That's a little more typical, that second round where I just hit into his block, and now by this point it's over, so you're really out of danger then. With Yondu, I always try to bait his SP1 just because it's really easy to dodge. You just go back far enough. And you can see here I get my SP1, and this fight is over in a mere 17 hits. Again, Corvus is so incredible for this path, and really for Alliance Quest in general. I think I looked on the live stream the other day. I think 9 out of 10 people were running Corvus in my battle group, so it's just a perfect champion. So now I go down, and I have 1 energy, which is good, so I can sort of keep on pushing into section 2. And then this next battle is against this Doctor Strange, but I have to wait until Dreamin unlinks him before I can fight him. So these next couple of fights are sort of fair game for whoever gets to them first. So sometimes I will fight Doctor Strange, other times Cam will come through and fight him. There's Dreamin, who's going to have to take down a Vision before anyone can attack him. And so now he has. This is just a little bit later. And so I go in and fight Doctor Strange. So this one is again challenging because he has an unblockable SP2, and Doctor Strange has that sort of 3-part SP2, which if you played Alliance Quest 6 is sort of one of the pre-mini minis, and so I fought him a lot then and used to be able to dodge his SP2 pretty well, but I'm a little bit scared of it now just because I haven't practiced too much. So usually in this fight he has this other node that basically makes him immune to everything for 25 seconds. It's the one in blue that's counting down. And so my main goal is to, again, do some intercepting like I did there and just hit into his block and just sort of slow the fight down. And then the second thing that's really important for me is to just bait his SP1. Much more easy to dodge, and there's so much less stress than the unblockable SP2. So here I have to dodge his SP1, or his heavy, and luckily right as I do, his limited immunity runs out, so now I can fight him normally. Again, he's a pretty challenging fight, and he has the armor up, which sort of reduces my damage a fair bit, and all these pieces of it. But once again, I can get to my SP1 and almost kill him. I just have to play a little bit more and finally get him down. So it's a tricky fight. You really got to be careful and at best play around that SP2. And if you can manage that, it's doable. But again, 1 SP2 that catches you, and you're probably going to die. So after that fight, I'm out of energy, and the rest of my alliance will push through to get to the boss. We have several of our players who will bring in Darkhawk, who's the perfect champion for that Omega Red Mini, and so they'll take him down. And I have yet to fight the mini boss just because my champions I don't think would have much of a chance to do well against him. You really need a robot. Darkhawk is the absolute best. There's a few other options, but none of the champions I have are good ones. And so I get to this section. So this is path 7 of section 3. And I can usually get up to this Massacre, but then I, of course, have to wait for him to be unlinked. And so I get there, and everyone else in 4 Loki is asleep. And so when I get there, I have to wait most of the morning, and then in the early afternoon, I'm generally clear for me to play. So now I use Omega Red for a lot of these fights. So Omega Red's really good because, of course, with Suicide's on, he gets the Death Shield, or the Death Field, which allows you to proc a lot of debuffs on him and do a lot of extra damage. And he's also good because this is the Starburst node, so if I ever needed to get a little bit of healing off his SP3, I could. This fight I try to stay as close as I can and get the Death Field up on him and the Deadly Spores. I also try to bait out the SP1. It's just a little easier for me to dodge, and so I'd rather just play more conservative around that, knowing that I can easily just sort of outrange that. And so you can see I try to hit into his block a lot, and this is for the extra damage. Sometimes the tentacles allow me to get through his block, but it's also to keep the proximity close, because that's the way the Death Spores work. So anytime I get my SP3, I generally throw it, gives me a little bit of healing, does some damage, and it usually is a pretty effective way of attacking him. And plus the SP3 means I don't take any recoil. So with that fight done, my next fight is against a Daredevil. And this Daredevil has Rage on him, which is, pretty annoying node. You'd think even at the day 5 level that he'd have so much health that you wouldn't activate the Rage too easily, but that really isn't true. So you always have to sort of plan this fight to have Rage on pretty quickly, which means after 5 hits, he's unblockable. And so again, I go in, try to get as close as I can, stay near him to get the spores up. He throws his SP1, and you can see the Fury's building, and now he's already unblockable. So now I'm just trying to bait the SP1. It's a little harder to stay close to him just because with the unblockable, that definitely means that he could easily catch me if I stayed too close, and even if I try to block it, then the unblockable would override that. See, I threw my SP1 there. I was trying to get him up to a bar of power, so that's the way you sort of have to play it now, just getting him up to that bar of power, baiting out that special, and then being able to just attack after he throws a special. So I get an intercept in there. Just again, once you sort of get in the rhythm of the character, I find intercepting not too bad, but it's always a risky strategy. And the Starburst is always sort of eating away at my health some too, which is another reason why Omega Red's nice, because he gets that regeneration. But again, a pretty manageable fight as long as you're just careful and just keeping an eye on everything. So now I'll move on to this Iron Fist. This fight is almost always easy because Iron Fist is just not hard a character to fight. The one thing that he does have is he has, again, like that Yondu I fought before, that unblockable for 6 seconds. So I go spend the first part of the fight again, backing away and hoping he blocks and then going to attack his block, just more to waste time than anything else. So there I go into his block. You see he charges at me, I just back up and wait till he blocks again. And okay, now it's already finished the unblockable 6 second start. And so now, again, it's a pretty quick and easy fight. I'm just getting the armor break, going in with my combos, building up to an SP1, and here he throws a special. It's really easy to hit afterwards, and the SP1 more or less finishes the job. So again, it's a really quick fight. It was incredible that on day 5 Alliance Quest 7, map 7, that I'm finishing a fight in 17 hits. The power of Corvus is pretty incredible. So the last fight I need to do on this path is a Loki, and you can see that he still is linked. For fun, I almost always fight him linked. With Omega Red, there's 2 things that I get out of this. One, he has Biohazard, which means when I hit him there's a chance I'll start bleeding, which is great for Omega Red because that means I'll keep on activating my Death Field. And then the other thing about it is just sort of a fun challenge. It's a pretty powerful cat champion, but I can usually do this fight okay. Both of us also have 50% reduction on our specials, so if I can get to an SP3, I can sort of start spamming that and healing a lot. So with Loki, I like to try to push him to the SP2 because I find that a lot easier to dodge than the SP1. You notice I can stay near him and get a lot of that spore damage. It's sort of a risky strategy, just because sometimes you take a heavy, or if he throws his SP2, which is unblockable and you're not ready, you can easily get killed by it. So again, just baiting the SP2, and I'm feeling pretty in control of this fight. You know, Omega Red's sort of a funny character to play just because you try to stay so close, and here I absolutely get caught. I was trying to throw the heavy off of the just the first combo of my medium to get the Deadly Spores to stick, and he ended up just wrecking me with the SP2 because I was too slow. So one hit and that's it. I go ahead and go in with Corvus just to finish him off. So I've made this mistake a couple of times and lost my Corvus. So Biohazard, the bleed I'm not worried about because Corvus is immune to bleed, but he's not immune to poison, so you cannot hit into his block at all. So I'm really careful about getting the armor break and then attacking into him. But I never want to attack into his block because I've done that before and got 3 or 4 poisons, and then I absolutely die within seconds. So luckily, again, powerful Corvus and a low health Loki, and he goes down pretty quickly. And so my last fight, which I take probably about 25% of the time, is whatever is the I guess the pre-mini boss. In this case, is a She-Hulk. Sometimes I fight her linked too because she shares with the other pre-mini that like dual link, so you have to fight one of them linked. Her link nose usually isn't too bad. What was it last time? It was that only tech champions did full damage, everyone else did 50%. The interesting thing about this fight is it's on an incredibly long timer. It's on a 15-minute timer. So I've fought various characters with my Ghost Rider here before where, you know, they also had 50% less damage, and it was like a 10-minute fight, like a 300-hit fight, but usually these fights are pretty reasonable. So I've gone with the Blade here. And you know, the last time I used Blade was against that Mephisto fight, so he's definitely taken some damage. He has Suicides on, which again is not great for Blades, does a lot of damage at first, and then he also has the recoil from using his specials. And so I want to use my special 2 while on this fight just to get her down since she has plus 500% health. And so I'm doing some regenning. You know, I've noticed something about this fight, and that is she often will just double hit into your block. So a lot of times when you back up and block, they'll like sort of charge at you and then run back, and you can get a lot of healing with Blade. I don't know if it's the new AI or this fight in particular or She-Hulk, but she doesn't really like, you can see there, doesn't really like to like dash back when you're blocking and keep on attacking into you. So I'm really having to get little bits of regen as I can in this fight, but that's fine. You know, as long as I'm staying at a high enough level. I mean, I really can't afford to be hit anyway, so it's more just to deal with the recoil than it is anything else, so I can keep on using my SP2. So it's a lot of just bouncing this fight. It's pretty slow, this fight. You can see, you know, almost more than 2 minutes in, and she's not even at 50%. So it's almost more of a test of endurance than it is anything else. You know, can you fight a long fight without taking a hit? And you know, my SP2 doing well. She bleeds, so everything's going to plan. You know, I just got to sort of stay focused, keep on baiting out her specials. I really don't like her pushing her too much above her SP2, just because, you know, I'm always worried that I'm somehow going to have her go to a special 3, and so, you know, I'll keep on baiting. In that case, I bait out the SP1 even though I was close to the SP2 because I'd rather sort of keep on doing that. You know, these fights are sort of good training just to make sure that you can play long and consistent. And for the most part, again, it should be a magical fight. I mean, both of her specials incredibly easy to dodge, and you know, it's not anything particularly difficult, but you always have to be careful because even in these fights you can die. So again, throwing my SP2, I've done a good job of managing my healing, so I've stayed pretty high up. You know, always right around that 30 to 45%, which is where I like to be. Might even be able to take a hit or two if it really came down to that. Because while she has a lot of health, I don't think her attack has been augmented. So finally I throw one last SP2 and that ends the fight. So this is my last fight. Sometimes I'll fight the boss and either try to take as much damage as I can or occasionally kill him. But for Loki we have so many amazing players that someone usually takes him down long before I even get a chance to. So I just sort of go up to him, say hello, and then back out, and then I just wait, and sure enough, later on someone else has killed him. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this entertaining. Please subscribe to my channel, and also come visit my live streams. This is Enzo Eigen of the Alliance for Loki. Goodbye.